United says it's betting big on electric planes, air taxis in New York, hybrid commuters in the Midwest, even hydrogen jets. The headlines promise a revolution. But batteries are too heavy, airports aren't ready, and the rules aren't written. The real catch? They may never scale. United's gamble. In 2021, United unveiled a strategy that turned heads. Instead of waiting for one breakthrough, they spread their bets. First came a deal with Heart Aerospace, a Swedish company building the AS-30, a 30-seat hybrid electric plane. United didn't just show interest, they committed to buying 100 of them, signaling that short-haul routes could be the first place electric aviation really works. Next, they looked to the skies above cities. Through Archer Aviation and Eve Air Mobility, United is backing fleets of electric air taxis, with promises of carrying passengers across New York and other cities before the decade is out. At first glance, it looks like United is preparing for a revolution, but the deeper you look, the more fragile it becomes. Short hops before long flights. If you're waiting to board an electric United jet, you'll be waiting years. The first flights passengers will actually see will be much smaller. Short hops between cities and airports. United and Archer are working to connect downtown Manhattan with Newark and JFK in as little as 10 minutes. Today that drive can take an hour or more. The new flights would be quiet, quick, and sold directly through the United app as ticket add-ons. Book a trip to London and you could add an air taxi to your journey. It's a clever way to make electric flight real sooner, but Archer's aircraft still needs FAA certification, a long and costly process. United is betting that by the late 2020s, those approvals will be in place. Until then, this vision of electric flying remains on paper. The regional workhorse. For real routes with paying passengers, United's hopes rest on the ES-30. On paper, it offers 200 kilometers of pure electric range, 400 in hybrid mode, and up to 800 kilometers with fewer passengers. That could link Chicago to Milwaukee or Denver to Aspen with less fuel burn and far less noise. But the hybrid part tells the truth. Batteries can't yet power a 30-seat plane over useful distances. Heart Aerospace originally promised a 19-seat all-electric plane, but Airlines quietly admitted it wouldn't fit their networks. The redesign into a larger hybrid aircraft was the only way forward. So the ES-30 is a compromise. Electric for very short hops, turbines for longer flights. And even then, its target for certification is 2029, almost a decade after United's first announcement. The hydrogen hedge. Batteries aren't the only play. United is also betting on hydrogen. With Zero Avia, they plan to retrofit CRJ550s with hydrogen electric engines. In theory, this allows flights of several hundred miles without burning a drop of kerosene. Hydrogen solves one big problem: weight. Batteries grow heavier the more energy you store. Hydrogen doesn't, but it introduces others. Airports would need new fueling systems, storage tanks, and safety protocols. And producing hydrogen cleanly is still costly. United's target is 2028 for hydrogen-powered regionals, but those jets will only fly if airports are rebuilt to support them, a challenge far beyond one airline's control. Did you know hydrogen contains nearly 3 times the energy per kilogram of jet fuel? That's the good news. The bad news, it takes up 4 times the space. Designing tanks that fit inside aircraft without stealing passenger seats is one of aviation's hardest puzzles. The wall of physics. Here's the first big catch. Jet fuel is absurdly powerful. A single kilogram of kerosene stores around 12,000 watt-hours of energy. The best lithium-ion batteries? Around 250. That's a 40-to-1 gap. This explains everything. Why air taxis carry only 4 passengers, why the ES-30 has turbines bolted on, and why you won't see an electric Boeing 787 crossing the Atlantic anytime soon. Battery tech improves every year, but only in small steps. Until a breakthrough arrives, electricity will power short flights, not the long-haul routes that define global aviation. And that gap in physics? It could ground United's boldest promises before they even leave the runway. The red tape. Even if the physics problem disappeared, there's another wall: certification. EV tolls are a brand new category, and regulators are still writing the rulebook. Hybrids like the ES30 must pass all the tests of conventional aircraft plus new ones for electric systems. This process is careful by design, but it means timelines slip. Boeing's 787 and Airbus's A380 were both years late, and those were traditional aircraft. Electric designs face an even steeper climb. Until regulators sign off, these futuristic planes remain grounded no matter how polished they look. And even if the paperwork clears, another challenge is waiting, one that could keep planes stuck at the gate even after they're certified. Power at the airport. Suppose the planes are certified. Now comes the question of power. Charging a regional electric aircraft between flights could demand as much electricity as an entire neighborhood. Multiply that by multiple aircraft, and airports face enormous loads. Most regional airports don't have the wiring or substations to handle that. Upgrades mean years of construction, new infrastructure, and new costs. And it's not just the big hubs. Regional airports, where these planes would fly most often, are the least prepared. So the bottleneck may not be the aircraft at all. It may be the sockets waiting on the ground. The grid isn't always green. Even if the power is there, what's the source? Electric planes produce no emissions in flight. But if the electricity comes from fossil fuels, the benefit is smaller than advertised. In states with cleaner grids, the emission savings are real. In others, they're modest, which is why United is also leaning into sustainable aviation fuel, biofuels that can be blended with kerosene today. Electric planes may work on short routes, but SAF is the only near-term option that touches long-haul flights across oceans. That's the overlooked truth. Electric flight is only one piece of the puzzle. The real question is where these pieces fit into United's network, and whether passengers will actually notice the difference when they fly. Where it fits. United isn't flipping a switch. They're building a layered system. Air taxis handle city centre transfers. The ES30 tackles short regional routes. Hydrogen electric could stretch to medium distances. And for the long hauls, the flights that drive global aviation, it's still SAF. Together, these technologies can reduce emissions and noise on the edges of the network. But the biggest flights, the ones passengers notice most, will remain powered by kerosene for years to come. Timelines that stretch. Archer hopes to launch service by the late 2020s. Hart targets 2029 for the ES30. Zero Avia talks about 2028. But aviation history is full of delays. Even conventional planes slip by years. Electric projects with brand new systems are even riskier. So the question isn't whether these planes exist, it's whether they'll exist in numbers that matter. Will passengers actually see them in booking apps, or will they remain rare showpieces rolled out at air shows? What the passenger will notice. For most travelers, the changes will come quietly. A new 10-minute option from Manhattan to Newark. A regional takeoff that feels strangely calm because the first climb was electric. Quieter airports, smoother short flights, a bit less fuel burned. The branding will be bold. Expect United to label these flights sustainable, with passengers eager to post their first electric journeys online. But the reality is partial. The long-haul flights that carry millions will still burn fuel. Only the margins will look different. The real catch. Here's the heart of it. United's electric plan isn't about replacing every jet. It's about electrifying the edges, short hops, transfers, small routes where the technology works today. The rest will take decades. The phrase electric planes sounds like a revolution. In reality, it's a patchwork of small steps arriving slowly, one route at a time. Progress is real, but it's not the sweeping change the headlines suggest. For electric planes to scale, three things must happen. Regulators must approve them, airports must build the infrastructure to support them, and the grid itself must get cleaner. Without those three, the technology stays niche, stuck on regional routes rather than scaling to global aviation. So yes, United wants electric planes, but this isn't a revolution that arrives overnight. It's a slow march. Short hops, quiet takeoffs, and new fuels tested at the edges of the network. The bold headlines promise change, but the reality is far more fragile, bound by physics, regulation, and infrastructure that isn't ready yet. The real question is simple. Will these planes ever fly in numbers that truly matter? If you found this breakdown helpful, make sure to like, share your thoughts in the comments, and subscribe to our channel for more stories from the skies.